Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome back to the green room. We have a special edition today. I want to invite you to join us and hear us talk about a little one-twos for the day, though. So today I got my boy here, Ryan.
One.
Got my boy Nico Suave.
Yo.
And of course, we got our boy J-Rod in the cut.
What's going on?
So, it's been crazy lately, man, honestly. Yeah. This Rona stuff and all this madness that's going on right now.
So it's officially half the year in of 2020, right?
Or June, actually.
By the time these people hear it, it'll be well into half the year in. But like, it's probably the craziest fucking year I've ever experienced in my life.
Easily.
Hands down. Like,
easily.
I know you mentioned it before in a previous episode of how this year started off, in a sense. So it started off with, what was it, like talks on World War III, then there was what else? There was like
World War III. There was
was it like the weather or some shit? I forget. Anyways,
something like that.
And then like Corona came, obviously, and it's still
out of nowhere, took the world by storm.
It's still affecting us to this day. That's why we're doing this online Zoom meeting, obviously. And then now, like, it's an ever occurring or reoccurring thing that's going on, especially within the United States, is this racial injustice that so many folks are experiencing, unfortunately. Like, it's fucking 1870 still.
It's unbelievable.
But like, I'm sure everybody's heard the news recently, George Floyd, and like, I'm gonna call it a lynching because that's what it was.
Yeah. Public lynching.
There's no two ways about it. And I feel like this one in particular, I don't know if you've seen the video or not. I don't know if you want to, or if you've seen clips. It's like not really necessary because once you hear about it, like you already buy into the story when like cop kills an innocent black man. You don't need to see the evidence of that occurring because I already believe it. So it's crazy that this one in particular, I feel like, is taking the world by storm, or nationally at least, more so than others. Like, how do you feel about that?
I would say somewhat, yeah, because like even like remember the Rodney King beatings? That was right? So, like,
in the 70s,
yeah, that caused a serious like chaos of the United States. It's like almost similar to like that, but honestly, it's worse because it's spreading across the world. Everyone's seeing it because back then there's no social media.
More people are seeing it now, obviously. Right?
And have you seen the video of him, of what happened?
With the man's knee on his neck. Yeah, that was wild. I'm like, the man's saying, I can't breathe.
Yeah.
Like, come on, bro. Like,
I couldn't watch the whole thing. Like, nowadays, like, all these videos that are being posted live, it's hard watching it, to be honest with you. Hearing these people scream, hearing these people fight for their life, this and that, while everyone's recording, but not doing one fuck about it.
Which makes no sense.
And it's just it's just really hard to watch time after time. Like, yeah, I've seen the clips, this and that, but to actually sit there and watch the video, like, I can't do it.
It's tricky.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's heartbreaking, man.
Oh no, I was saying it's tricky, like in this type of situation when it comes down to getting involved, right? Because
that's what I was just about to mention. That.
Yeah, because like really, I get how people want to help out and get involved, but like you can't really do much against the police.
Are you talking about like in that particular situation?
At that moment.
Like, I get it. Like, it's easier. I feel like it's easier said than done. Like I'd say I'd get involved too. That like everybody would say that.
When it comes down to it, you're in the heat of the moment.
Exactly. And
unless it's your family, right? Or someone you know.
That's what I'm saying. Like, when do you draw the line, right? When does one become two or one become three, right? Like, obviously, I feel like recording it and like that in itself is a due diligence for the people around there. But I feel like, like, unless you're trying to get shot or something, like, you know what I'm saying? It's very like a thin red line that you can sort of involve yourself with. I did see the video. like I've seen most of these videos that involve this kind of thing, just because I like to be in tune, like aware of it, and it's very like obviously it's disturbing to say the least. But I feel like it is heartbreaking, man. It's just like a man is helpless. You're just watching a helpless man cry out for his life, type of thing.
Like we're humans first, right? Before race, we're all humans. And race comes and like ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm not like well versed in that sort of maneuver that the officer, if you can fucking call him that, performed on George Floyd, rest in peace. But like it only takes like 7 pounds of pressure to break a man's neck, shatter, like collapse his trachea.
You know that, huh?
I feel like I heard or I read somewhere that it's like supposed to be on their back, like the knee on the back type of thing, not to purposefully asphyxiate somebody in a sense, right? That's like you're out to get that person. But like I feel like, especially in times like this, we're so desensitized to something like this that I feel like that's why it's taking so long for something to happen at this scale in terms of like the rioting and stuff like that.
I think you also have to take in the economical impact right now. I mean, there's already massive inequality in the United States, let alone Canada, and then you add to it with what the coronavirus has brought, which is massive unemployment. Adding to that, I think I was reading like sorry, let me find the stat for you guys real quick. I think it was in 2016, the average white household in the Twin Cities made about $76,000 a year, while the average black household earned just $32,000 a year. 32% of black Twin Cities fell below the poverty line, while only 6.5% of whites did.
So that's in Minnesota, right?
That's in Minnesota. So
that's where this happened?
Yeah, that's where this one happened.
Minnesota. Okay.
I'm sure we'll talk about some other ones, but we can bring up a bunch of other examples of some of the bullshit going on in the States and in our own backyard even. But yeah, that's just one of the factors that I think is kind of why the rioting and everything is escalating to the point it is. There's also the pattern of, this is not the first time, obviously, something like this has happened in Minnesota.
Aggravating, right?
Yeah, it's fun.
Like, I understand how sort of the economic situation of the people, and especially during the times right now, can play a part into something like that, into aggravating people or whatever, or pushing them past their limits or whatever. But I feel like because it's always been like that, I feel like it's not something that should be taken into consideration. Like this goes beyond money, and you know what I'm saying?
I was even having a conversation with my boy the other day, and like, in all honesty, if we're gonna break this cycle, it has to start with the next generation. Yeah, right. Like, if we have people, like, think about it, in schools, they should be taught about this. How certain people in certain locations are falling behind because they are not provided the same structure that's given to a certain race or a certain location, and how to, but the tricky part about that is the person that has to teach that has to be very, very careful how they teach that. Because you don't want to be in a situation where you're teaching these kids things, and after, for example, these white kids like, hold on, this guy's saying I have all the advantages, I have this, so I'm the better race then. Okay, everything is blessed. I just have to keep doing this and make sure my people come up. We don't want that. You know what I mean? Right. You have to have someone that's going to teach, we need to have proper structures for everyone. We have to give everyone the same chances, you know what I mean? As soon as we could get that mindset into the next generation, we could break that cycle that the old generation just concocted for years and years and years.
Let me ask you, do you think that will really work 100%?
I wouldn't say 100%, but it's a start.
I think it's one of the things that you have to implement.
Yeah.
Like, of course, is education, right? Because especially at that, like, in the school system in that young age, they're so impressionable, right? That's when that's sort of when racism, I feel like, develops. is like is a whole combination of things: nature, nurture, environment. I feel like racism is a generational thing. It just dates back so far, especially in the history of the United States. Like look at like their country was built on slavery, right?
Literally.
But then how does that affect? Like, there's such thing as generational trauma. Like, I think most races experience generational trauma in certain ways, whether it be from their oppressors through colonization, right? Or just simply outing people from their homes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that education and it would be like one of the best starts to it, definitely.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. That's like as much as this is a race thing, I'm not saying it's not a race thing. Everybody sees race, you know? But like ultimately, I think big picture, it comes down to inequality. When you have such, and when I say inequality, it's not just wealth. It's not just money. It's people need to have access to healthcare. They need to have access to the same amount of education and educational rights as every other human being. Like, the fact that it's like it's basically pay to play. Like, if you are rich and privileged, you know, you have the advantage of having better education. You have the advantage of having better healthcare. That's a stupid system. That's not correct. How can you expect people to, you know what I mean, to sync together if you're segregating them from the very get-go of existence?
Right.
You're right.
Like, you're setting that structure as an, oh no, you're better than those people. They go to that school, you go to this school. Immediately that power structure, that systemic structure is there.
Yeah.
So it's a broken system in a sense. But
yeah, I feel like it's a system that's never worked in the first place.
Exactly.
It was built to fail.
For minorities, that is.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like it's just like, even like taking your example, if you take two people who have the exact same amount of education, amount of income per year, whatever, like they grow up in a nice environment or whatever, there's still one, if it's a white guy or a black guy, one of the parties is still gonna have a disadvantage no matter what, just because of the color of the pigmentation of his skin. And that's just how it is, unfortunately. That's how it always, I don't think how it always would be, maybe in our lifetime, unfortunately, but that's just what it is. Like, you could take everybody could be equal in a situation, and there will always be oppression, because oppression and racism is for some reason human nature in our society. I don't think it's a natural thing. I think it's a developed thing. Like fear is a developed thing, right? We're only born with two fears. That's loud sounds and fear of heights, and then everything else we learn. It's from the environment where we're experienced. That's like what racism is, I feel, right?
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Totally agree.
Like, you look at two babies in the same room, two children, they don't see that shit.
They don't, yeah.
Right? But it's their parents, it's their kin, it's their friends that
cultivated over time.
Exactly. It's the ones that embellish it in their mindset that this is wrong or this is more right than the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's that type of thing, right?
And honestly, that literally goes with every single race. You know what I mean? We can't just say it's like white people that are, you know, have this sort of racism or prejudice towards black people. Towards black people, because shit in black culture, because shit is brought onto us, we're taught fuck those guys, in a sense. You know what I mean? And it's not our fault. You know what I mean? It's like our parents' fault, right? So
yeah, that's what I was referring to, like generational trauma.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah, it's like because they experienced it, they let you know the little dimes and jewels are from their experiences to say, listen, don't do this, don't do that. These people are like that.
And that, yeah.
Especially when it comes to the police, don't talk to them this certain way. Make sure they always see your hands. Make sure you don't be rude. If you give them any lip, you might get beat up or shot or something. Like, damn.
Yes,
and that's why some people are so very, very ignorant towards the police. You know what I mean? Because of that past trauma.
Right.
Can't help it. It's natural at that point.
I'm never trying to roll those dice though.
Born with a hatred.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's if I've seen enough of this or I'm not involving myself in enough of this, but I haven't seen enough like police officers voice their opinions on this type of shit.
Because it's a gang. Most police officers are a gang, bro. You have to stick to your own. You have to hold each other down. There's no speaking out against the gang.
Like, I've seen a couple. Like, I feel like it's unfair to make like one bad apple shouldn't spoil the whole tree type of thing. Like, I know it's a controversial opinion. It's just not fair for me to say that because I don't know every cop, but like, I've never personally, I've grown up never liking them. Because my father never liked them, so I would never like them.
Exactly.
But you know, I feel like for like at a time like this, I feel like it's a huge thing for them to step up and speak their minds, right? Like, prove to us that you're not all the same. You know what I mean? Show us, change our minds. You know, it's a responsibility of theirs.
Like, you know, scrolling through social media, like with all these different feeds, you're seeing all the protests and this and that. But I've seen a couple posts where it actually shows good police officers marching along with the protesters. You know what I mean? Talking about like the other side, like being on like the side and everything, right? And it's really refreshing to see. I'll watch those videos. Hell yeah. You know what I mean? That's really, really refreshing to see.
Right.
Not every cop is bad. Not every cop is bad, but
because does one man
right? So,
like, does one man's action define who you are as a character? Say I was Jared's cousin, pretty much am, and I and I was a bad guy, right? Does that make Jared a bad guy?
Yes,
absolutely. It's in your blood.
Yeah, I feel you though. I see what
you know what I'm saying. Like, you know what I'm saying. I'm just trying to put that into.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. I guess it's what had me was like all those cops that were protecting the man.
Yeah.
Or surrounding his crib and stuff like that.
No, those people are just as bad. You know what I'm saying?
That blew my fucking.
But there's so many of them. That's the crazy part about it.
Like an army. Blew my fucking mind, bro.
That's why they tore up the city, bro. They're like, yo. There's no police out here that are guarding this man. Let's go.
Where's our protection? Where the fuck is our protection?
100%. Like, isn't it their duty to protect us? Right?
You know what I mean? First,
we shouldn't be like. I get anxiety when I'm around a police officer. I know I shouldn't, but I just, you know what I'm saying? Like, something about
it's a natural thing. Trust me. Always do. Always.
Even though it should be the opposite. You should feel safe, in my opinion. You know,
you should.
If I had a gun, I'd feel safe. You know what I'm saying?
All the time, bro. That's why America's so angry, because everyone's strapped down there. Everyone is strapped. We're literally going to start a civil war if things keep going on the way it is, bro.
Yeah.
Cops versus the rest. It's like,
it's getting so real. God.
Like, yo, what kind of video game are we in right now?
But like, there's been like numerous examples, even this year. You know, y'all remember the one with Ahmaud Arbery, the gentleman who was just jogging through some fucking.
That was one of the saddest videos ever.
Was it in New York or something?
I watched it
in Georgia,
and
then he was.
By accident, this shit was so.
So he was pursued by this father and son inbred hillbilly fucking duo, and then they shot him because of hatred, right? That's just what it is.
The man that recorded it I believe he got arrested too as well.
How are you gonna record that, bro? Like, recording murder. Come on, it's just disgusting.
And so it's just like that, and then like obviously there are some local ones in our city or in the GTA. More specifically, I think it was a month or two ago, like a young gentleman in Brampton, 26 years old. He was known for being mentally unstable. Like, the cops have been to this person's household numerous times, but for this time they killed him on the spot this time around. And obviously the family's questioning why that occurred, what led to that point. Well, first they stunned him. Let's get that straight.
Yeah, they hit him with stun guns first,
and then they shot him.
What? So they stunned him, then they shot him?
And then they shot him.
Serious? Jeez.
Fuck, bro.
Don't you think stunning a man is enough?
Not good enough.
So then, so the reason why the family was questioning why this occurred is because there's been so many calls to that household, because I guess he's been causing trouble, or he's had issues with whatever. And the gentleman's name was DeAndre Campbell, another young black gentleman. And then, yeah, they killed him, unfortunately. So this stuff does happen, like even in our very own backyard.
Mm-hmm.
As sad as that sounds.
Just up in North America.
Like we're like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that sort of puts things into perspective. Like it's not an isolated situation, whereas in the United States specifically, but as well as like north of the border, Canada, where everybody thinks Canada doesn't have systemic racism for some reason, where they think that cops don't kill colored people, which they do all the time. Like you can just look back, like probably every year there's incidents of that happening every time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And like, yeah, it was not like the first time that this happened in Minnesota. I mean, there was did you guys hear about Justine Damon, the white woman who was killed by the Somalian American police officer?
Oh.
No, I haven't heard about that one.
I don't know
Okay.
anything about
Long story short, and this is the reason why this is one of the attributing factors to the protests that are going on in Minnesota and then have now kind of gone globally, because there's protests in Toronto, there's protests in London, there's protests in Berlin. Global. This is turning into a global thing, because it is a global thing, you know? And then fucking, yeah, so basically, long story short, Justine Damon, a white woman, ends up getting shot by a Somalian American police officer who gets sentenced to 12 and a half years. Whereas did you guys hear about Philandro Castile?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Philandro Castile was a young man. This also happened in Minnesota. This was in 2016.
I was in Minnesota as well, really.
Yeah. Basically, so if you don't know about Philandro Castile, he was a 32-year-old man who was shot 7 times by a police officer while he was in the car with his girlfriend, and his daughter was in the back seat. Basically, the cop came, said, can I see your license and registration? He showed it to him. Then he said, hey, I have to tell you something. I have a firearm in the car. And that's because he was the licensed carrier. And he just wanted to put that out there.
Yes,
and then it was almost like a switch went in this cop's brain. And it turned into a thing. Like, don't pick it up. And, you know, you can see on like the dash cam footage or whatever, you can't see anything. And then long story short, the girlfriend, she's like saying he's not doing it. He's like, I'm not doing it. And the guy shoots him 7 times. And she's like, what the fuck? You like killed my boyfriend. And the guy's like, I didn't go for it. Like, as he's like dying with his last breath, says that again. And it's just so fucked. And basically that guy got acquitted. So that's another reason why there's this huge, like, the protest has gotten to the point where it's not like, oh, they're just doing this just because of this. Like, no, this is
it's
a ongoing issue that
there has to be some sort of tipping point. Yeah, exactly. Like, what do people expect? You can't, like, I feel like, and I wanted to get into this, is that there's only so much, like, people can take before you expect something to happen.
If something doesn't bend, what happens?
You know what I'm saying? Like, what did you expect to happen? You can't just sit back and hold hands and sing Kumbaya for the rest of everyone's lives, right? Sometimes you have to fight fire with fire and change their minds. Whoever's, those old white people in charge, change their minds and see, like, this is the consequence of what's going to happen if you let this shit happen, would you let it slide, which they do, right? Because all these cops are getting acquitted. Like, I feel like, to me, it sounds, this is just an educated guess, but to me it sounds like police training in the United States is not that good. They should do fucking mental background checks with everybody. I feel like giving
Bro.
somebody a police badge is just a license to kill, or
Easily.
somebody you
It's like you're
hate.
joining a gang.
Exactly.
It's like you're joining a gang. Like my sister showed me the other day a post of, I guess these police officers are using black people's mugshots as target practice to shoot.
I've seen
Use
that.
it for target practice. Crazy, bro. Absolutely crazy. You're using these mugshots as target practice.
Yeah.
Like this is what you're
Systemically training them what to look for.
Yeah. So like, what do you expect? Of course, people are gonna move out of the Martin Luther King movement and get into the Malcolm X movement because it's like, yo, by any means necessary, if this is how you're moving, we're gonna have to move a certain way too.
Right.
Obviously, an eye for an eye makes the world blind, but what are you gonna do at this point in time? Right? You're not really listening. You're just killing and
Yeah.
incarcerating. That's it.
Right.
Not gonna get killed. You're gonna go to jail. It's like what? Like,
Yeah.
that's not right. That should not how it be ever.
So how do you feel about like the riots occurring right now and like the looting and the fires and shit like that?
Honestly, I think it's horrible because it's like, yo, we're still going through a pandemic out here. Everyone thinks that the coronavirus just disappeared. It's still out there. And like a whole bunch of people are linking up and doing this foolishness. But I understand that
I understand they're
no
fed
matter
up.
what the situation is.
Yeah, they have to use the momentum, otherwise they won't be able to do anything. It's
Yeah,
gonna
if you want
die
to make
down.
a change, you have to go.
It's gonna die down, and then it's just gonna be nothing's gonna happen until another person is another black man or whoever is killed for no reason,
Yeah.
basically.
I wonder how they're doing this.
A lot of people using this to their advantage. Like,
Oh, bear people.
guys are taking like 5 TVs, 4K TVs. I want one.
Yo, I want to get a 4K camera for us. Come on.
That's like some man's in Minnesota and see if they're
We
trying to
should
sell
definitely
like-
start looking on Kijiji to see if mans in Minnesota are selling things.
We're way ahead of you,
Should
bro.
have thought of
Like
that.
they're out there robbing malls, thieving from the grocery store, thieving out of Rollies. It's like, damn, bro. It's like it's expected. You know, realistically, you know, you don't know what type of life you'd be living if you were down there.
There's two different types of black people down there right now. The ones that are out there, you know, protesting, and the ones out there robbing right now.
Which side are you on?
It like brings out the best and the worst in people.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have to laugh. It's funny. Like I have to laugh.
But like, yo,
Yeah,
like,
it's exactly.
at first I was like, why are they doing this type of shit? Like, blah blah blah. And then I was like, man, like protesting can only go so far before people have to eventually riot. You know what I'm saying? Like,
You have to send a
if
message.
this was any other country other than the United States, like say Brazil or even in my own my home country in the Philippines, if they saw a guy with his knee on another man's neck and he killed him, that cop he'd be shot on the spot.
Done on the spot.
And that's how like
Crazy.
eye for an eye is real out there, right? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Certain places in the world where that would
Yeah,
shit.
you would not be able to do that shit. Like
100%.
you would two people would die that day at least.
Exactly.
Like if one innocent man is going down, that person who killed that innocent man is going down with him.
Yeah.
And like that's sort of, I hate to say it, but like, and I hate to say it, right? Because what good can come out of this? But more deaths, you know what I'm saying? I don't care about the economy in terms of the United States. They could always rebound, but it's people's lives at stake, you know what I'm saying? Like you see people like right now in Chile, they're rioting because they have no food. Like,
That's a good reason to
what are
riot.
they going to protest? They're not going to protest. They're fucking rioting. You know what I'm saying? And as they should be, because their government is greedy. And at the end of the day, it's who's in charge of all of this in the United States. You know what I'm saying?
Rich white man.
Now, I have a question though. What are the mans gonna do to have to go back to work? Are they going back to work tomorrow, or are they just like doing this protesting consistently? Because I'm thinking like, yo, they're gonna protest this weekend, go back to work, and on Friday they're gonna run it back.
Most people are already employed, man.
Okay. Protest. Like, jeez.
Bro, I'm telling you, there's a good chance most of the people that are part of the riots are currently unemployed.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's not
But the ones that are going to
anything.
work, they'll be back on Friday night, bro.
I think it's a full-time
Waiting
job.
on that corner.
Oh, I also wanted to like briefly mention before we end this off is like rest in peace to the 29-year-old Regis Korchinski-Paquette, who was suffering through mental illness. The police were called, and then she ended up flying off her balcony. That happened recently, actually, this month.
So, my brother reported that, or basically was telling everyone, you know, Wagwan, they just threw her off, but there's no like view or nothing like that.
Yeah. Apparently, like in the post, like the man was saying, like her cousin apparently was saying, they killed my cousin. They killed my cousin. They told CP24 not to come. They don't want. They want to cover it up. They want to make it seem like she fell or something like that.
See, I believe that shit.
100%.
I believe that than the other story.
I know.
Yeah.
It's just like right now, it's just like I'm so desensitized to not believing the official story when it comes to some like a black person and cops. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I'll always automatically, I know it's bad for me to do. I'll always look the other way, turn the other cheek, and believe what the family member says as opposed to what the police say. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like if you put yourself in that situation, if your cousin said, "Oh, he didn't kill himself," like I believe that person 100%. You know what I'm saying? That's kin, that's family right there. So, yeah. Like any final words on?
Yeah, actually, I was just in my mind. I was just reading. I just read a tweet Lupe Fiasco, and he said that in 100 years, I'm not quoting him 100%, but he's like, in 100 years,
paraphrase,
are no longer. Yeah, I know. In 100 years, I hope there are no more black people within the United States, not due to extinction, but we found a better place to live. What do you guys think about that?
I agree.
All right. I agree 100%. Like, fuck. Fuck out of the States.
Or maybe just kick out all the fucking, you know, everybody else. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, that'd be a thing still.
You know, you know, especially with the native population there in the States, is the indigenous population here who's been going through oppression for years,
forever, bro.
Genocide, like it's literally swept under the rug. They're not even being
swept under the fucking rug. It's like, yo, it's crazy. I feel bad. I feel so bad, bro. It's crazy.
Well, it's not fashionable to care about them.
Yeah, it literally is. It's took the words right about it. It's not fashionable to care about these guys. It's like they don't exist.
But on a final note, man, like rest in peace to all those poor souls.
Oh yeah, bro.
I feel like we're gonna see, unfortunately, like I hate to say it, but I feel like we're gonna see more of this, and I feel like if we just stand together and, you know, bring awareness, like everybody's an activist these days, but everybody also has a platform, and I feel like it's your responsibility to use your platform at least to do some good. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
That's like sort of what we're trying to accomplish here right now, and what we're always trying to accomplish as TGR. So, yeah.
I mean, I'll say rest in peace to everyone who's been killed from injustice, but I feel like if I tried to acknowledge all of them, it's a long laundry list that I can't get through, and we don't have the time, especially because our Zoom call is going to run out of time, and we're too cheap to pay for a subscription.
On Zoom?
But I will say this, you know, I don't think all cops are bad people, and I have to believe that only because my brother is a cop, and I know my brother, and I love my brother, and I don't think he's that kind of person. In fact, you know, I feel I know that, but again, it's like you see this stuff in the media, and it makes you question shit, you know? So it's tough. It's really fucked, and, you know, and I sit here from my fucking ivory tower, no pun intended, living in my bubble. That's my privilege, is being able to kind of tune this shit out. But I've taken the time over the weekend kind of to be versed in what's going on so I could do this podcast today, and it's really opened my eyes for sure. I'll say that there's, you know, definitely some fucked up shit going on out there. Not that I didn't know that, but just more so that I was just being ignorant to it.
And it's been going on forever.
Yeah.
Oh, even like personal experiences.
Yeah.
Even my personal experiences, man. You just realize how scary it can be. Like even just like a quick story from when I was younger. I remember in high school times, I was chilling with my boy Desi. We're over by Chinguacousy Park, and we were just sitting on the hill, chilling, doing nothing, just chilling. Squad car comes up on the hill, drives on the hill, and ask my boy, are you okay? Is that guy bothering?
That's just it. What the fuck?
Yeah, for real.
This is like, no, this is my boy. Like, okay, well, make sure you guys aren't doing any drugs or do anything crazy then. And
This is more ignorant than you.
You know what I mean? For real, bro. Like, yo, what's happening right now? So I'm thinking to myself, like, this is real shit, bro. Like, no matter what, how old I could be a kid, I could be a grown man, no matter what, it is what it is. You just have to know your stuff. And if he wasn't there and I was on my ones, fuck.
Exactly. Who knows? It's fucked. It's fucked.
I'm just saying, I really hope there's a change. I mean, definitely RIP to all those people who've gone through it. And for those who still go through it on the low, on a daily basis, when it happens to you, even getting pulled over,
I feel for you.
know what to do, bro. Just stay strong and don't be stupid, bro. Don't be stupid. It's not worth your life.
100%. But yo, thanks again, everybody, for tuning in to another TGR podcast. A quick thing about what's happening in the world today, and you'll be hearing from us soon. You feel me? Find all our shit on TGR905.com.
TGR905.com.
Hit it up.
Yo.
Madam.